There comes a moment when a man, beaten by circumstance, decides he will no longer bend to the winds of fate. Instead, he becomes the storm. If you've ever felt the fire in your gut screaming, "I was born for more," then today's message will awaken a power within you that nothing can stand against. Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every person's life when the world seems to conspire against him, when the burdens grow heavier, the night grows darker, and hope seems to flicker like a dying flame. But it is in that very darkness, in the very depths of despair, that something extraordinary can happen. A man, once broken by circumstance, suddenly stands taller. He does not yield to the winds of life. He becomes the storm. Today, you will discover exactly how to ignite that transformation within yourself. And by the end of this talk, you will have the keys to unleash a power so unstoppable that no obstacle, no enemy, no misfortune will ever hold you captive again. Stay with me, because the storm is waiting inside you, ready to be unleashed. Every storm begins not with a mighty roar, but with a silent, almost imperceptible stirring. Beneath the stillness of the sky, deep within the unseen places of the earth, pressure builds, energy gathers, and the forces of nature prepare for a transformation so powerful that it will soon command the attention of the world. So it is with a man. True greatness is not born in the public eye. It is conceived in the secret battles fought in the quiet hours, in the solitude where a man wrestles with his frustrations, his disappointments, and his dreams. It is here, in the shadows of private defeat, that the inner fire first takes root. The fire does not roar to life immediately. At first, it is little more than a smoldering coal, hidden beneath the ashes of past failures and the debris of self-doubt. But even the faintest ember, when protected and fed by desire, can grow into a blaze that consumes everything in its path. Desire is the oxygen of this inner fire. Without it, the ember dies, choked out by the cold winds of fear and complacency. But when a man allows himself to want something deeply enough, not with casual interest, but with a burning, aching hunger, the ember glows brighter. He begins to feel it in his chest, in his bones. It is a force that cannot be reasoned with or ignored. Consider the story of Thomas Edison, the man who brought electric light into the world. It is said that Edison failed over 10,000 times in his experiments before he succeeded. 10,000 failures would extinguish the will of an ordinary man. But Edison was not driven by a shallow wish. He was possessed by a desire so intense that every failure only added fuel to his fire. Each defeat sharpened his hunger, hardened his resolve, and made the vision in his mind more vivid and unshakable. He did not merely hope to succeed, he needed to succeed, and that need transformed him into a force of nature that no obstacle could withstand. This kind of desire does not arise by accident. It is born when a man reaches a moment of crisis so profound that he realizes he cannot continue to live as he has lived. It is born when he looks at his life, the wasted opportunities, the silent dreams, the gnawing dissatisfaction, and says with a ferocity that surprises even himself, "I will not endure this any longer." From that moment, his spirit catches fire. His mind, once a prisoner of circumstance, now becomes a forge of unstoppable ideas. His heart, once timid and cautious, now beats with the reckless courage of a warrior charging into battle. Nothing external has changed yet. The world remains the same. His resources may still be few. His circumstances may still be bleak. His support may still be non-existent. But within him, a revolution has begun. The birth of the inner fire is not an outward event. It is an internal awakening, a seismic shift in the soul that declares the old life dead and the new life inevitable. There comes a moment when a man, no matter how battered by failure or numbed by routine, realizes that drifting through life is no longer an option. It is not a gradual realization. It strikes like a bolt of lightning, splitting the skies of his consciousness and forcing him to see what he has tried for so long to ignore. In that instant, he knows that indecision, hesitation, and fear have been the invisible chains shackling him to mediocrity. This moment is the turning point. The birthplace of transformation, decision, real decision, is a violent, all-consuming act. It does not tiptoe into a man's mind quietly, it erupts. It demands everything, full commitment, total focus, and an unbreakable oath to move forward without retreat. Before this decision, life moves him like a leaf blown across a restless sea. After this decision, he moves life itself, bending it to his will, forcing it to conform to his vision. History is littered with examples of men who became storms the moment they made an irreversible decision. One of the most stirring examples is that of Hernan Cortez, the Spanish conquistador who led the expedition that ultimately conquered the Aztec Empire. Upon landing on the shores of the New World with his small force of men, Cortez was faced with a daunting reality. They were vastly outnumbered, deep in an unknown land with no reinforcements on the way. The margin for error was non-existent. Retreat would mean death. In an act that has echoed through history, Cortez ordered his men to burn the ships that had carried them across the ocean. With their escape route destroyed, the message was clear: succeed or perish. No middle ground, no hesitation. That singular, ruthless decision transformed a fragile, fearful group of explorers into an unstoppable force. The burning of the ships was not merely a tactical move. It was a psychological revolution. It severed all ties to the old life, cut off all paths to safety, and demanded that every man fight with the full, desperate force of someone with no choice but to win. This is the nature of true decision. It is not a wish, a hope, or a fleeting preference. It is not a polite suggestion whispered into the universe. It is a deafening roar hurled into the face of fate, backed by action that leaves no possibility for retreat. When a man truly decides, he changes not only his path but his identity. He stops negotiating with his fears. He stops asking permission from circumstances. He stops waiting for conditions to be perfect. He stakes everything on the certainty of his choice and dares the universe to stand in his way. At the moment of real decision, a man steps across a threshold where most will never venture. He enters the domain of the few, the architects of destiny, the masters of their own fate. And it is from that decision that all great storms are born. Once a man has made an unshakable decision to transform his life, the next and most critical force he must summon is the power of definite purpose. Without a clear, driving aim, his newfound energy scatters like 1,000 raindrops splattering against a wall. Loud, dramatic, but ultimately powerless. Definite purpose is the mighty riverbed that channels the flood of energy into a singular, unstoppable current. It concentrates all thought, all action, all emotion into one direction. A man with a vague goal is like a ship adrift, tossed about by every wind and wave, moving but never arriving. A man with a definite purpose is like a warship locked onto a target, advancing with ferocity, precision, and unwavering intent. His purpose gives meaning to his efforts, courage to his heart, and direction to his daily struggles. Without it, the best of talents waste away, and even the most violent storms collapse into harmless mist. One of the most vivid examples of the power of definite purpose can be found in the life of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who rose from penniless immigrant to one of the richest men in history. Carnegie did not stumble blindly through opportunities. He moved with a singular, burning purpose: to dominate the steel industry and through it to build an empire of wealth and influence. He was not interested in being good at many things. He was determined to be the best at one thing. Every action he took, every relationship he cultivated, every investment he made was measured against that singular aim. He poured his energy, his time, and his entire being into mastering the business of steel. His definite purpose was not merely an idea scribbled on a paper. It was a living force that shaped his daily decisions, powered his relentless pursuit of excellence, and steeled his resolve against any setback. Carnegie's focus was so intense, so consuming, that it drew resources, allies, and opportunities to him like iron filings to a magnet. Definite purpose transforms adversity into fuel. When challenges arise, and they always do, a man without clear purpose questions whether he should continue. He hesitates, he doubts, he falters. But a man with a purpose so deeply rooted in his soul does not waste energy entertaining fear. Every obstacle becomes a test of his commitment. Every hardship a sharpening stone for his resolve. His mind ceases to be a battlefield of conflicting desires and becomes a laser, cutting through distraction and resistance alike. He wakes each day not wondering what he should do, but knowing exactly what demands his energy. He navigates his life not by circumstance, but by mission. His movements are deliberate, his decisions firm, his steps unrelenting. The power of definite purpose does not make life easier. It makes a man invincible to the trivial doubts and meaningless distractions that destroy lesser ambition. Once a man has committed himself to a definite purpose, he must face the brutal truth that the path ahead will not unfold smoothly, simply because his mind is made up. In fact, the stronger and more worthy his goal, the fiercer the resistance he will encounter. The universe tests every great ambition with trials designed not to break the man, but to burn away the impurities of weak desire. The road to greatness is littered with obstacles, delays, humiliations, betrayals, and the sneering laughter of those who dare not dream for themselves. At these moments when progress seems invisible and every step forward feels like dragging a mountain behind him, most men fall away. They mistake difficulty for defeat. They misinterpret delays as denials. But the man who persists, who clenches his jaw against the howling winds of impossibility and presses forward regardless, becomes something more than a man. He becomes an unstoppable force. Persistence is not a mood, it is a muscle built by constant struggle. It is the decision to continue when everything sensible screams to quit. History reverberates with the names of those who refuse to be conquered by the impossible. One such titan was Colonel Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken. At the age of 65, when most men resign themselves to obscurity or retirement, Sanders took a battered recipe for fried chicken and set out to sell it to restaurants across America. He was rejected over 1,000 times. Think of that. Over 1,000 times he was told, "No, not interested. It will never work. You are wasting your time." A lesser man would have taken the first 100 rejections as proof of failure. Even a strong man might have buckled after 500. But Sanders, armed with nothing but a worn-out car, a battered vision, and a relentless spirit, persisted. He kept knocking on doors, he kept hearing no, and he kept moving forward. His persistence against the impossible was not fueled by naive hope. It was forged by the knowledge that surrender was a far greater defeat than rejection. Eventually, the world caught up with his vision, and today his name and legacy are known across continents, not because he was the most talented chef, but because he was the most persistent dreamer. Persistence is the alchemy that transforms the impossible into the inevitable. It does not guarantee an easy journey, but it guarantees movement, growth, transformation. Every failure becomes a lesson. Every rejection strengthens the armor of determination. Every delay serves as a crucible to purify and harden the original purpose. A man who persists understands that circumstances are temporary, but his will is eternal. He knows that mountains that seem immovable today will crumble tomorrow under the steady, unrelenting blows of a spirit that refuses to accept defeat. He learns that the impossible is not a wall, but a test, a sacred invitation to rise above the ordinary and claim the extraordinary by sheer, stubborn, magnificent persistence. Persistence alone, though mighty, cannot withstand the cruelest tests of all, the long seasons when there are no signs of progress, no applause from the world, no evidence that the struggle will ever bear fruit. It is in these barren stretches that many abandon their purpose, not because they lack strength, but because they lack faith. Faith is the vision that sees victory when the eyes behold only defeat. It is the torch that lights the path when the world offers nothing but darkness. Faith is not mere hope, and it is not blind optimism. It is a deep, immovable conviction that the unseen is more real than the seen, that the promise held within the Spirit is more powerful than any visible obstacle. Faith whispers to the heart that the dream exists already in the unseen realm, and that unwavering belief will call it into the realm. Is without this inner vision, even the strongest will falter when the nights stretch too long and the burdens grow too heavy. Consider the story of Helen Keller, a woman born into a world of darkness and silence, trapped in a prison of her own body, utterly cut off from language and communication. By every visible measure, her life was destined to be one of helplessness and isolation. There were no outward signs that greatness could emerge from such circumstances. Yet within her burned a faith that could neither be extinguished by blindness nor crushed by silence. She believed, even before she understood the words to express it, that a way out existed, that she could connect, learn, speak, and eventually inspire. Guided by the tireless faith of her teacher, Anne Sullivan, and fueled by her own indomitable spirit, Helen Keller shattered every limitation that nature had placed upon her. She became a voice for millions, a symbol of triumph, and a living testament to the fact that faith sees paths where the physical eyes see only walls. Faith beyond sight demands that a man speak of victory while standing in the ashes of apparent defeat. It demands that he act as though success is inevitable, even while walking through the desert of delay and hardship. It requires him to tune his mind to a higher frequency, beyond what is happening around him, and lock on to what must happen because he wills it so. When friends fall away, when fortune flees, when even strength seems to wane, it is faith that carries a man forward. Faith transforms loneliness into solitude, failure into refinement, suffering into preparation. It fills the heart with certainty when logic offers only doubt. It builds bridges across chasms that no human effort could cross. The man who possesses faith beyond sight is not deluded, he is determined. He does not ignore reality, he transcends it, shaping it to match the vision burning within his soul. Faith without action is a hollow dream, a castle built on mist. It is not enough to believe with the heart or to see with the mind. A man must move, must strike, must build, must carve his vision into the raw material of the world through relentless action. Action is the chisel that shapes the unseen dream into visible reality. It is the weapon that slays the dragons of doubt and fear. Each step taken, each blow struck against resistance, each sacrifice made in service of the vision becomes a brick in the fortress of ultimate victory. True success does not come in bursts of inspiration or fleeting moments of effort. It is forged in the furnace of continuous, tireless, relentless action. The man who acts with ferocity and consistency day after day in the face of adversity, exhaustion, and ridicule is the man who bends destiny to his will. One of the clearest examples of this principle lives in the life of Walt Disney, whose name is now synonymous with magic, dreams, and limitless imagination. Before the first Disneyland opened its gates to millions, Disney faced a torrent of failures. He was fired from a newspaper job for lacking imagination. His early businesses collapsed in bankruptcy. Time and again, financial ruin and skepticism blocked his path. But Disney was a man intoxicated by action. He did not sit and wallow in defeat. He kept creating, kept pitching, kept building. When bankers scoffed at his ideas, when partners abandoned him, when the world laughed at the notion of an amusement park of fantasy and wonder, he continued moving forward, step after step, brick. His relentless action in the face of scorn and obstacles carved a place for his dreams in the physical world. Today, his creations are not just ideas or memories. They are cities, empires, and legends that millions experience every year. Relentless action transforms mere desire into inevitable conquest. It breathes life into goals that others call impossible. It breathes life into goals that others call impossible. It drives a man to rise after every fall, to push through every wall, to claw his way forward, even when progress is invisible. In the pursuit of a mighty purpose, there will be days when fatigue grips the bones, when inspiration withers, when every fiber of the body and mind screams for rest. But the man who wins is not the one who acts only when it is easy, only when he feels like it. It is the one who acts when everything inside him begs to quit. His commitment is not seasonal, not conditional, it is eternal. Relentless action means showing up when there is no applause, working when there is no promise of immediate reward, building when the dream feels impossibly far. Each action taken becomes a prayer to the universe, a declaration that he will not be denied. In the end, victory does not crown the most talented, the most connected, or even the most intelligent. It crowns the man who refuses to stop. Every morning, I like to have luck radiating off you. Will you remain a leaf blown about by the winds of fate, or will you become the storm that shapes destiny itself? Decide now. And remember, the storm is not outside you. It is you.